Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me today to learn about the new Connecticut state mandated retirement plan and a great alternative to it. I know you're all members of HBRA. We've been members for over 30 years now, so we really understand the value of membership. This presentation will last about 15 minutes or so. We will have plenty of time for questions at the end. We'll cover a bit of history of retirement plans and the issues that are causing states and the Fed to be involved. We'll talk about the Connecticut mandated plan and compare it to offering your own traditional plan. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the HBRA 401k and why it's a great alternative and why it is different than traditional plans most businesses use today. Many of our parents and grandparents had access to pension plans, which are also called defined benefit plans. They were very popular, but have been declining since about 1985, as you can see here. And they're all pretty much gone unless you work in the government or education sectors. Here you can see defined contribution plans, which 401k plans are becoming the most popular options now for businesses to offer, but there's still not enough businesses offering them. Both the states and our federal government recognize there's a retirement crisis in America. Over 1/3 of business owners don't offer a plan at all, and only 28% of the smallest employers offer a plan now. The bigger the company, the more likely they are to offer a plan, and about 1/3 of private workplace employees have access to a workplace retirement plan, so that means 2/3 do not. Why are these numbers so low, especially for smaller employers, which are really the backbone of our economy? Well, they're costly and difficult to set up and operate, especially for a smaller business where the owner wears many hats. And along with that, you need to stay compliant or risk fines and penalties. And to top it all off, you take on personal liability when you offer a plan. So the state started looking for solutions to the retirement crisis as far back as 2012 in California and 2014 in Connecticut. The studies found it was clear that automatic enrollment was essential to get a level of participation that would make a difference, but that any employee should always be able to opt out at any time. Oregon was the first state to implement a plan in 2017, so almost 6 years ago. There's currently 10 states that have these plans that are either up and running or soon to be. You can see them in dark blue here. Four other states have voluntary plans, and there's about 30 states with legislative efforts underway, and only 4 states that have no plans in the works, and that's Alaska, Alabama, Florida, and South Dakota. Here are 5 states that have plans operating now. We're going to focus on Connecticut, which is a Roth IRA program with employees being automatically enrolled at 3%. The next big deadline is the 30th of March for employers with 5 or more employees. Take a look at the bottom right box that shows Oregon requires employers with 1 or more employees to enroll in their plan. I wouldn't be surprised if Connecticut extends their program to mandate it for those size employers as well at some point in the future. There are 6 states that will be rolling out their plans over the next year or two: Colorado, Maine, New Jersey, New Mexico, Virginia, and Vermont. The Connecticut plan is called My CT Savings. Any employee in Connecticut that's 19 years old or more and has been employed for 120 days needs to be enrolled. The employee must be given a 30-day notice before being enrolled, and they are enrolled at 3% rate if they do nothing. They have 90 days to opt out and have all their prior deferrals returned to them. Owners do count as an employee if they receive W-2 pay, and the income threshold for an employee is $5,000 or more in the prior year, so it's pretty low. Here are the deadlines for Connecticut businesses. Wave 1 passed at the end of June of last year for larger companies. Wave 2 ended at the end of October for mid-sized companies. And as I said earlier, Wave 3 ends on March 30th. Here are the investment options available in My CT Savings, which is a pretty complete lineup compared to some other states. If an employee doesn't make a choice, their money goes into the cash preservation fund for the first 60 days, and then into the target retirement portfolio that matches their age of retirement past the 60-day mark. Here are some things you should consider. You, as the business owner, will have to make contributions to the state plan and manage any contribution rate changes your employees make with your payroll company. All contributions are Roth, whether that makes sense for your employees or not. You have to enroll any new employees when it is required. My CT Savings will then mail the enrollment notice to your employees. Think about how your employees will handle their part of this. Will they opt out when they are supposed to, or will it cause disruption when they miss the deadline and notice it months later and want their money back? Also, once you provide the state their data, any changes to it have to be made by them, like address changes, beneficiary changes, marital status. Do you think they'll keep up with this? Because if they don't, it's going to be a mess. So that's what's going on at the state level. The Secure Act was passed in 2019 as the federal government's attempt to address the retirement crisis with the goal of increasing employees' access to employer-sponsored plans. They did this by removing what was called the one bad apple rule, which made it difficult for businesses to join pooled plans. What it means is no longer will one employer's violation of plan qualification rules put the whole group of companies in the pooled plan at risk. Before this change, most employers would not want to take this risk. Now they don't have to. It also added tax credits to help businesses with the cost of setting up and running a plan. Secure Act 2.0 was just approved in the last few weeks. It now allows for catch-up contributions for people over 50 years old to receive Roth tax treatment rather than free tax. It also allows employees to choose to have the employer match to be coded as Roth contributions, which was not allowed before. It doubled the tax credit for new plans from 50% to 100% of the cost for 3 years. It raised the required minimum distribution age to 73 from 72 also. These changes take effect at different times because plan providers will need time to program these changes into their systems, but the tax credit changes are in effect now. Regarding the tax credits, there's two different types to be aware of. One is for starting a plan, and it's limited to 100% of the cost up to $5,000 a year for 3 years. It's limited to $250 per eligible employee also. Then there's another credit of $500 per year for 3 years for adding automatic enrollment to your plan. So this alone has made it much more attractive to start your own plan. Now, there are no tax credits for joining My CT Savings. So most small business owners like yourselves will be faced with a decision at some point soon. Join their state mandated plan or offer their own. We know the most common reason businesses offer a plan is to attract and retain good employees. We also know these traditional plans are costly to set up and run, difficult to stay compliant, and places fiduciary liability on the business owner, which is why many smaller businesses are not offering a plan today. Here are some more considerations. Will joining a state mandated plan help you meet your goal of attracting and retaining good employees? I doubt it, since there's no employer match in these plans. There are no tax credits for these plans, but there are minimal costs. There are low contribution limits of $6,000 for those under 50 and $7,000 for those 50 or more. There's no flexibility in the state mandated plan design. With a private plan, you have complete plan design flexibility, and employees can decide to contribute on a pre-tax basis or Roth basis. The business owner decides what they want to contribute to the plan for their employees, so it can be some sort of match formula or a flat amount per employee. The deferral limits are also much higher, $22,500 for those over 50 and $30,000 for those 50 and over in a traditional 401k. And another big benefit of that type of plan is the potential for profit sharing, which can be included and is very popular today. A private plan also has much more investment flexibility as compared to MyCT Savings required investment lineup. But then you have to consider the headaches that come with offering a private plan that we already talked about. Now we're going to talk about an excellent alternative for you to consider, the HBRA 401k retirement plan. Remember, we talked about the Secure Act allowing pooled plans to become viable. The HBRA 401k plan is different than a traditional plan because it is a pooled plan. So you get the economies of scale being part of a plan with billions in assets and thousands of other businesses. It eliminates the major obstacles in offering a plan such as high costs, difficulty to operate and stay compliant, and minimizes the fiduciary liability to the business owner. I'm going to explain how this is done. In a traditional 401k, you typically have a financial advisor, a record keeper, and a third-party administrator. In the HBRA 401k plan, you still have these same service providers. But what's different is you also have these auxiliary providers. TAG is designated as the 316 plan administrator and 402A plan operator by naming them as a fiduciary in your plan document. The investment oversight is outsourced to Fiduciary Plus as a 338 investment manager. I know these codes are foreign to you. They're ERISA codes that mean nothing to you, but they're the key to shifting the administrative headaches, and with that, the fiduciary liability away from the business owner. On the right are all the duties a business owner is responsible for in a traditional 401k plan. But the left shows what remains when you adopt the HBRA 401k. Monitor TAG resources, upload the payroll files, and provide the year-end data. These last two tasks can be handled by your payroll company if they have payroll integration available, which most payroll companies now have, and we strive to set this up with every plan that we manage because it essentially takes you as the business owner out of the middle. Here, this is designed to give you an idea of the costs. These are the asset-based costs for the program based on a plan that has less than $1 million in assets. So if you start a plan, you're going to fall into this category. You see the advisor cost, TAG cost, Transamerica's cost, Fiduciary Plus, and the fund expense, all rolled up into a total cost of 1.15% that is assessed to the plan quarterly. And this is very low for plans of this size. If you put a side-by-side comparison to a small plan in the traditional market, you're going to see that the cost is better than double. And also, you're not farming out the responsibilities and headaches as you are in this plan. So it's much more preferred and much lower cost. There are also some hard dollar costs to consider And what you see here is a setup fee for a startup plan of $1,000. And then what you see here is the ongoing cost, which most plans we set up, I would say every plan with a few exceptions, are called safe harbor plans today. And those are less costly to operate. It's $1,000 a year. But once you reach certain levels of assets, you hit 100,000. When you reach 250, the 1,000 drops to $250. And then when you reach 500,000 of assets, it goes to zero. And even the startup cost of 1,000 is waived if you have money that gets rolled into the plan of 100,000 or more within the first 90 days. So a lot of times for startup plans, people have IRAs. The owner may have been accumulating IRAs, and we can roll in 100,000 to save the $1,000 setup fee. So then you just have the ongoing 1,000 annual fee the business owner pays. But with the tax credits, especially the new ones that were just passed, these will basically be zero for 3 years. Here's a list of the investments in the HBRA 401k. You'll see excellent fund families here, such as Vanguard, Fidelity, State Street, and so on. You even have a fixed account called the Stable Value Fund on the top right that's paying just under 2% for anyone that is very risk averse and does not want to take any chance with losing principal in a down market. Here's a few members' comments on their experience with the program. I think Liz Verna's are the most appropriate to talk about. She had a plan many years ago and shut it down because of the costs and hassles. She was very apprehensive to start a new one. She looked into the HBRA 401k and decided to move forward about 2 years ago, and she and her employees are very happy with it. I'll give ourselves a plug here. We are here to help. If you are interested in seeing a proposal, we would generate it for you and go through it with you in detail. And then if you wanted to move forward, we would basically guide you through the entire process of completing the paperwork, getting the plan up and running, and then meeting with your team and getting them enrolled and engaged in the plan. Then once that's done, we will at least annually meet with you and your team to make sure they continue to be fully engaged, help them with any questions, make adjustments to the plan as needed. So please reach out to us after the meeting if that's something you'd like to look at. What we're seeing out in the field is this type of plan, this pooled plan, is taking over the small business marketplace. And why wouldn't it? It just makes so much sense. Why would you want to set up and run a traditional plan and have higher costs, the headaches, and the fiduciary liability when you could do something like this and simplify your life so you can focus on your business and not on managing a 401k plan or joining the state mandated plan? So with that, I will open it up to questions.
John, I have some employees that are not interested. They already have their own. Do they need to be registered as just they're opting out, or how does that work?
Yes, exactly. Basically, your company would set up the plan for the benefit of its employees, and you would design the plan and make decisions such as when is an employee eligible? 6 months, a year? When can they get in the plan? The first of the month, the first of the quarter? How much is the company going to contribute for employees? Is it going to be a match? And what is the formula for the match? So those are all decisions made by the company. And we would set up automatic enrollment so you could get the $500 tax credit that they're offering for 3 years. And also that takes the company out of the loop of notifying employees that they're eligible and working with them to get them into the plan. That's
So
done by,
you would contact the employees then. I would just give you the information and then you sort of, so in essence, you're becoming a HR person for this particular thing.
yeah, and it's tag resources. So we set up so that you provide the information from the relating to the employees right from the
Mhm.
get-go. And then when you hire somebody, it comes from payroll to them if we set everything up properly. So
Mhm.
really all you're doing is dealing with payroll, adding new employees. That information gets uploaded every pay cycle to tag. Tag sees that John Smith has been with the company 6 months now. 30 days before that, they say, hey, John, you need to be aware you're going to be enrolled in this plan at 3%. Here's all the information. If you choose not to, you need to opt out now, and they are told how to do that. So, in a perfect world, you're not involved in that at all, and you don't want to be. That's the whole idea of
Right.
simplifying this process and making it so that errors can't happen, because that's when problems happen, is when errors happen. So if we take it out of your lap, you're not the expert.
Correct.
And Michelle, was your question pertaining to doing the HBRA program or the MyCT savings specifically, or just
HBRA. No, I really don't. I mean, from what I've read and seen so far, the Connecticut State Plan isn't, that's not the route I want to go.
Okay.
Mhm.
Who's your payroll company, Michelle?
That would be moi,
Okay. And what do you use?
QuickBooks, Intuit,
Okay. QuickBooks online or desktop?
desktop.
Okay. So they integrate with the HBRA program.
Okay.
The question is, do you want to upload the file each pay cycle or have someone else do it? There's an outside service that does it for $30 a month. If we
I'll
want
probably
to
just do it myself. Yeah.
yeah, and then you could try it out and see how it goes.
Hmm.
You could always, if it's something you just don't want to do. And the key is that to get yourself out of the loop is to add an employee's email address as you upload each file, include it. And that way the notifications are done by tag directly with your employee. It doesn't have to be a company email, but the key is to provide an email. And then if you don't currently do that and somebody doesn't have one, you might want to just set them up with their own Gmail so that you're out of the loop. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that. Probably like most small businesses, we don't have an HR department. That would be me, and I'm the
Yep.
bookkeeper.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to get overly involved other than getting it set up.
Yeah.
And having someone run it. So, because I have more than enough on my plate as it is.
Yeah. And, we've done our due diligence. We've compared costs to plans that aren't even in the same category in terms of reducing your fiduciary liability. And this program's cost is the lowest we've seen and the best as far as, taking it off your plate. So I think you'd be very happy, and we can put you in touch with people that you may know that are using the program down your way.
Now, who would my contact be for this if I want to move forward? Would that be you or someone else on your team?
It would be me and Dave, who was on the call as well.
Okay.
Myself and Dave, and we handle certain portions. He's more involved in the onboarding process of the plan, and then we work together on educating the employees and enrollment. And we have someone else who's involved as well. So, but we all work together.
Okay. Now I think you said something along the lines if they make 5,000 a year or more. So it's not, for example, so we have two companies, one of which we have some very part-time people work about 9 hours a week. So it doesn't go by hours a week. It goes by how much they're making a year, correct?
I was referring to the state mandated plan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now, how does that work through HBRA? So if they're only working 9 hours a week.
Assuming you adopt that, for example, the most restrictive option is to say an employee needs to work with you for 1 year and 1,000 hours. So 1,000 hours is roughly 20 hours a week. So if they're working 9, they'll never be eligible.
Well, that, I guess, just to add on that the hours do carry over from, that was one of the changes. Hours carry over. So if that, say they were doing their 9 hours a week and they got, let's say, like 240 hours, that 240 hours would carry over to the next year towards meeting the hours of service requirement.
Okay.
Oh, geez. Okay.
But tag resources who we partner with for this program would be keeping track of the
Right.
hours requirement and
Well, it would
everything.
take them 2 years, because if they're doing if they fill in, I mean, they could do it in less than 2 years, but okay. But
Yeah.
that's something as a company we would determine, so that's how we can sort of cater it or to our needs in that sense.
Yeah, and most employees don't like if you're part-time, you don't want to also be contributing to the plan, so they can also just
Right, and I don't
opt
think they
themselves
will,
out.
but I feel like we just need to put something, have something, just so there's a guideline or something to go by, because who knows, there could be someone. And I don't want to be trying to put this together when that one person happens.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So what if the employer, so the employer doesn't have to contribute at all, is that correct?
Yes, but if there's safe harbor option that I discussed earlier as being the most popular. That is less costly to run because it takes the testing out of the plan, where if you don't have a safe harbor plan and you have some employees that are what we call highly compensated, and that would mean Arnold or Arnold's family or anyone earning over $130,000 a year, they're considered highly compensated, and they do some testing to make sure that those people are not putting in an unfairly greater amount than the non-highly compensated. And it ends up creating some issues where they might have to take money out of the plan the next year because they put in too much. So Safe Harbor eliminates that test. And so if you were doing a match formula because you wanted to not contribute to anybody that's not putting money in, the match formula is dollar for dollar up to 3%, and then 50 cents on the dollar up to 5. So in effect, if you put in 5%, the company puts in 4 of your annual compensation. And if you put in any more than that, the company stops at 4. So it's not a big number. And I think most businesses, the reason everybody's doing Safe Harbor is, number one, they don't want to be the highly compensated people to be stymied. And number two, you kind of have to have a decent plan these days to attract and retain,
Right.
And we have a document that explains what Safe Harbor is, because there's another option that you just give everybody 3% that's eligible. And we'll send that to you after the call if we get your email.
Okay. Will you be sending this, what you just showed us today? Are you sending that via email as well?
Yeah, we just have to edit it beforehand. So it could take a couple days.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be ready. The recording would be ready by the end of the week at the latest.
Okay.
How about you, Tim? Any questions?
Yeah, the reason why, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
The reason why I tuned in today was to find out if the plan that I presently have is compliant, mostly, and basically, and then to see what you guys had to offer. We set this up probably 20 years ago, the one that we're doing. And because we have 5 employees, thankfully, you guys, the HBRA notified us, and through you guys that there was a change in the law coming, and that we have to have a retirement plan of some some sort.
Mhm.
Of course, it has to be compliant with the rules, the state, is it state or federal rules that we're talking about?
Well,
Or
the,
both?
basically, if you have a 401k plan, you're going to be compliant.
Okay.
There really are no regulations on what provisions need to be in your plan. And Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, but you just need to go and opt out of the state plan properly. And we've been helping our clients do that already, so that they're all taken care of. Do you see my screen still, Tim?
Yes.
So this is more for people that have plans. I didn't really touch on that at all because I didn't expect people that had plans to be on the call, but this is, we can do a side-by-side comparison of the costs. And this is what we need to do it. There's a report called a plan asset statement that shows where the money is. Like if you have 10 different funds, how much is in each fund. Then we have what's called a fee disclosure, and there's other names they use, but it's a way to keep people aware of what costs are being assessed to the participants and to the business owner. And then you may be paying a third-party administrator. You know how I showed that $1,000 setup fee and $1,000 cost? That typically you'd be paying something like that to a third-party administrator now. So
Well,
we get
yeah,
all.
I have to find all that out, because I'm looking at the information I have in front of me here on my stuff, and it talks about an SRA, which I don't quite know what that even stands for.
Summary annual report, SAR.
It's not, SRA.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Or is that similar? Maybe that's similar to an SEP, a simplified employee pension.
I'm not sure. A simple IRA, is that what it is? Do you have a simple IRA?
Well, no. Basically, what the way the plan works is that the employee has money taken out of their pay pre-tax, and we send that off to their financial advisor, and we match dollar for dollar up to 3% of their gross pay on an annual basis. And we've been doing that now for, like I said, that plan's been in existence for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a simple IRA because that's the match formula, 3%.
Right.
And the limits are lower. There's we have a document that speaks to the difference between the benefits of changing from a simple to a true 401k. But your simple is compliant, and
okay.
Yeah, and but I think if you have a plan, some of those costs we showed you were not going to apply because they go away at certain asset levels, and I think the benefits of nowadays with a plan like this that's streamlined and easy to operate and stay compliant and lower in cost, the simple IRAs are becoming like dinosaurs because they're clunky to run. Like you're sending money off and their advisor is investing it for the participant. The more employees you have, the more clunky it gets, and the more you hire somebody and set it up, it's tricky, So I haven't set one up in years, and
neither have I. So
yeah. So we can talk more. We'll send you over that information on the simple comparison, and we'll see if anything resonates.
Okay.
Yeah. And Tim, just to chime in too, so you might have received the mailings and email notifications from the state on the MyCT savings program.
I have not seen that. I found out about it from you guys essentially. I haven't received anything from the state.
Yeah, but it's very easy to opt out. Like John mentioned, we've done it. You just need to be able to provide the business mailing address and the company EIN, and the representative you get on the phone with will then provide you, hey, this is your company opt-out code. And if they say, oh, we don't have an opt-out code generated for you, they can work towards putting one together. Because that might mean you're off the hook for this year, but they could get you on the hook for the following year, because maybe you had, for the majority of, I don't know, 2022, when you file the taxes, it only looks like you had let's say 4 employees, 4 W-2 employees rather than 5. Then it would, the minute you have 5 reported on the taxes, that's when they're gonna then need to set up the opt-out code for you.
And this is something that has to get done by March, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the March 30th deadline
Alright.
of 2023 is just making sure you're opted out. And the, like John mentioned, the simple IRAs, simple IRA plan, it will be enough to get you opted out. You have a plan in place for your guys.
Okay, all right. Good to know.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't opt out? Do they start automatically?
We don't know.
It's a good
Nothing is-
answer.
Nothing is published. We tried to get some data from the state on how the plan is going in terms of like how many businesses are enrolling and how many accounts are being set up and funded and how many employees are opting out. Because California does have that data and we're able to access it, but Connecticut doesn't. And you know, some of the feedback we got with the way it's running just doesn't sound like it's running very well, like Michelle mentioned earlier.
Look at my surprised face.
Right. So, but yeah, we can help you talk further about this, and you know, no obligation, no pressure, you know.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle, any other questions pop up?
No, right now I'm just, I got all my year-end stuff coming up, so I probably will make some kind of contact with you in February.
Okay.
Obviously, if there's any other Zoom meetings or presentations we'll be doing, please add me to that email list, just so I can sort of keep myself abreast of what's going on, if there are any changes or whatnot. But I'll be focusing more on this come mid-February.
Okay. Takes about 45 days to set up, and there's really kind of a startup period where a lot happens, and then they do their work to set up the plan behind the scenes, and then it's ready to go in a couple of weeks. So
Okay.
you might want to try to move it up a little bit, like to February 1st, because there's going to be a pretty big rush of people waiting to the last minute.
I'll see what I can do. I'm the only person, I'm me.
Yeah, I mean, again, there are no set penalties to look at and be worried about, but you know, so if it's a little delayed, I'm not trying to give you a scare tactic. You got to do what makes sense, but we'll help you a lot and make it happen for you. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll talk more.
Sounds
Yeah,
good. Thank you. Thanks for your
Happy
time.
to be a resource for you guys with any questions regarding this. And yeah, we'll be hearing a lot more of the problems probably come April when everyone files their taxes, because those bigger companies were due to enroll back in 2022. So more to come.
Dave, can you send me your, I see John's email. Can you send me yours as well? So if I have any questions, I could send it to both of you.
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good.
All right,
Okay,
take care.
thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Dave, you got to shut it off.
You guys good? Okay.
You gonna stop the recording? Still there, Michelle?
Yeah, it should be good. Yep.